Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where today we're going to touch on a surprising cost of running my Lamborghini Huracan STO. Now this is inspired by my friend James, the Stradman's recent video about his full garage maintenance, all of his servicing, all of his insurance and all of the other costs involved in his car collection. Now I might try and do that with mine, but it does take quite a long time to add it all up and to work it all out. But I'm actually a little bit jealous of one thing in particular, which we're going to be talking about today. So the plan is, with the car only recently returning, it was away for a little bit, and it's now had some new PPF to touch up some parts that were getting a little bit chipped and damaged. In fact, I've got a few cars that could do with a few parts to be replaced, so maybe some trips to Topaz in store for us. But I want to take the car out for a drive. It is a beautiful day outside. I haven't actually driven it for probably 2 months or so, and it's a wild, raging Lamborghini, perfect for a lovely sunny day. So let's get it started up, nice cold start of the V10 in a moment, and touch on some of the costs, including a surprise, but also some things that are very positive about it, involved in running a Lamborghini Huracan STO. Now, when it comes to buying different cars, there are many factors involved. It's always easy to think about the fuel a car consumes, but that's actually a very small cost, or was until recently at least, in comparison to everything like servicing, your annual maintenance, whatever it might be, your tyres, your insurance, that's the big one we're going to be talking about today, and then of course the depreciation. Depreciation is by far the biggest, and I've got some cars that have gone down pretty heavily. Purple and blue corner just here, some that have gone up since I bought them, the Ford GT, the SLS Black Series. Even at the moment, I think the STO, I never expected that because they're actually making quite a few of these in comparison, but it's the end of an era, a naturally aspirated V10 engine at a time when things like that don't really exist anymore. And in a year or two, Lamborghini are going to have hybrid Huracans. The Technica, I believe they are saying, is the last ever NAV10 in a Lambo, following the Gallardos, the Huracan's immensely successful models for Lamborghini. Now, one of the really cool things about the STO here in the UK, which makes a big difference to this, is that every car includes as standard a 4-year warranty. So additional to the standard 3 years that you get with most cars, you get the extra year, but also crucially, 4 years of the maintenance plan. So 4 years of servicing, they effectively come and pick it up from you, take it to the dealer, get it serviced for 4 years, and you don't have to worry about it. You could extend to 5 years warranty and 5 years servicing on purchase of the car. There's actually quite a large upcharge for that. I think it was about £3,000 a year for just the service, for that 5th year service. Not a year, sorry, £3,000 as a single one-time payment to have that 5th year service, and another £3,000 for the 5th year warranty as well. They are quite expensive cars to service. So something like the GT8, I think, comes in at about £800 a year. Not too crazy at a main dealer to take it to a main Aston Martin dealer. Lambos are very expensive, about £3,000. The McLarens aren't actually that bad. The 675 LT is about £1,000. Even the Senna is not much more than £1,000, which for a car of its price point and its performance level is actually really quite cheap when it comes to servicing, if I can say that. Obviously, it's crucial with these cars that you do service and maintain them properly. And for example, my Ferrari SF90 Stradale, like all new Ferraris, actually comes with a 7-year servicing plan included. So you get 7 years in addition to the 4 years of warranty that you get with those as well. But Lamborghini, I think, only more recently introduced the servicing pack. The thing that stands out massively, though, is to do with insurance. And this is where I'm immensely jealous of my friend James, because he did a video where he talked about the insurance prices of all of his cars. And he quoted for his Lamborghini Aventador, his original LP700, that he pays $197 per month, which per year is $2,364, which at the current exchange rates is about £1,968, just under £2,000. If I was insuring this for £2,000, I would be very, very, very happy. Here we tend to pay annually as opposed to per month. And fair to say it's a lot more than that. How much more, I'll have to tell you when we're out on the road in a moment. Before we do though, a quick word about the sponsor of today's video, BOTB. Now, I've known the guys from BOTB for many years, and over that time, I've shared different experiences with them, driven plenty of cars, met some of the winners, we've done a few drag races, and even had Christian to come and visit the Shmuseum with his dream car. It's Christian who's out there surprising the winners of the dream car competitions with their prizes. You can win the likes of a Lamborghini Huracan, or a Lamborghini Urus, or hundreds of other incredible cars. You can play Spot the Ball in the Dream Car competitions, or answer a simple question in the midweek lifestyle competition, and you could win a car, cash, or a motorbike. Tickets start from just 60 pence, and all of the information is down below. It's open worldwide. What are you waiting for? It could be you who wins a Lamborghini and takes it out for a drive. Talking of which, let's go get started and head on out. The last car that I drove down a tight, twisty country lane was the Hennessy Mammoth, and in comparison, this car feels absolutely tiny, even though in the normal world it's actually quite wide and quite difficult to thread down these kind of roads. But we do need to talk about this surprise cost, the cost of insuring a Lamborghini here in the United Kingdom, and especially in comparison with the figures that James quoted for his Aventador. Now, the Aventador is the big brother. Admittedly, it's probably worth slightly less as an LP700-4 in comparison with this being a brand new STO, but the same kind of ballpark, the same kind of thing, right? And he said that it costs him just under £2,000 a year for his insurance policy. Now, when it came to insuring this car, back after I'd ordered it, of course I added it to my fleet policy, and I've got one single policy that covers all of my cars. I've been with the same broker and insurance for about 10 years now, so I've got a good relationship, have all of the cars covered, and have a pretty good idea normally of what these type of things are going to end up costing. So we just, added it, said, what will that be, and waited for the number to come back. And in the first year, it took me completely by surprise, because the prorated annual insurance premium for this car to be added to my policy was a little over £6,000, and that was after some negotiation, I should add. So over 3 times the price that James pays for his Aventador in the USA, and significantly more than I expected. For example, my 675 LT Spider, which I would argue is probably a faster car, it's a little bit more power and slightly lighter. I think it would win in both a drag race or even a circuit race. That's about £2,000 a year. So when that came in at 6,000, when it first came in at nearly 7,000, I had a bit of a gulp and a double check of, are you sure? Is that right? Is that what it should actually cost? And turns out that yes, because here in the UK, as I guess probably everywhere, insurance is very much statistics driven, and the statistics say that a 30-something-year-old male driving a Lamborghini is probably going to crash it at some point, and therefore the policy is going to cost a lot of money, a lot more than the equivalent power Ferrari or Lamborghini, obviously Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, or Porsche, for example. Now, this was, quite a big surprise, and I have to say, for the second year, it has actually come down quite significantly. It's now about £3,500 a year, still a lot more than the equivalent of a vehicle I feel should be. But when you consider the likes of the Ford GT or the Senna, they're not much over £6,000, and they are much more expensive cars, which are going to be much more expensive to repair should anything happen, and are much more, both valuable and more limited, so more special, you could say, and I think probably would deserve a more expensive insurance premium. I think James said that his Bugatti Veyron, that felt very snug just there. His Veyron is in the region of $418 a month, so that works out at about £4,000 for the year if you convert at the current money. And that's, again, about half of those others over here. Gosh, this engine sounds fantastic down these kind of lanes, even if they are a little bit bumpy. And I'm driving in STO mode. I enjoy driving in STO mode on these kind of roads. It feels much more at home. Trofeo is just a little bit too harsh, a little bit too aggressive for these bumpy lanes that we have in the UK. But insurance is a fascinating topic, because obviously it's compulsory to have the right kind of coverage. It's very important, especially given the way that I use my cars, the amount they're driven, the amount they're used, and all of that is fully openly declared and discussed. And this brings me on to a recent topic of discussion, which followed from recently experiencing the VF Engineering STO out in California, fitted with the VF 8XX package that gives the car an additional 200 horsepower via a fairly easy connect and play type setup. And I knew it would have an increase in the premium if I inquired into it, so I reached out to my insurance company and said, hey, if I do this, what will it cost me? What will it do to the policy? And the short answer is that per year, it would increase my premium by £900. If, let's say, I have that kit fitted on my car and keep it for another 10 years, that is £9,000 of today's value increased in my insurance, in addition to paying the cost of the kit and the installation. It's a huge amount of money and a very big factor. And of course, all of my cars, I declare every modification, whether that is some tuning or some parts like an exhaust or even PPF over the bodywork or a vinyl wrap. And for example, when the C63 Black Series went to GAD Tuning recently to update the tune and just to work out what was going on, Tom and Brad took it up on the Shmuseum channel. Even just informing of those details, it goes down on the policy. Sometimes it will bring about a premium, sometimes it will just be noted down, and that's basically it, and that's a case-by-case basis, so to speak. Oh, thank you very much to that person. But it certainly is quite the shock to think about. It costs me half as much as James's insurance for his Aventador full stop to add a supercharger to my policy. Anyway, back onto the open roads. And off we go. So one thing I find really interesting about insurance is that I'm the same person, whether I'm driving this car, the 675 LT, the Ford GT, or something else, or even this car with a supercharger. Yes, okay, arguably with a supercharger, the car is a little bit more leery, so there is a slightly increased risk. But I don't think there's an increased risk of me driving in the STO versus me driving in the 675 LT. In fact, I think because this car is so dramatic and shouty, and I am decently under the speed limit at the moment, but it feels like you're driving so fast everywhere, you actually drive it slower as a result, because it's just wild. It's just a little bit frantic, and there's a frenzy around you as you go through the gears, and you're shifting and moving on with it, and the way that you're sat in the car and the windscreen diving right out miles in front of you, and to be honest, just how bumpy it is down roads like this. Lovely place to be, by the way. Absolutely wonderful place to be driving, and much more suited than the Mammoth was. So insurance is a really big topic, and it's very welcome, as I said, that the 4-year servicing and maintenance package offsets that slightly in the early stages of ownership. But it's certainly something I think about. If this car's costing me thousands of pounds more per year than another car, if it had stayed at the higher rate, it certainly would have played a role into how I felt about keeping it long term. Because if I'm not going to drive it so much, it's a lot of money. At £6,000 a year, that is basically, it is literally £500 a month, whether I'm driving the car or not. And that's pretty significant, 500 quid a month, even just to park it in the garage. At the current rate, it's obviously just under £300 a month, so significantly more welcome, but still, 300 quid a month on insurance is a lot of money for a car like this. I tell you what though, it is a whole lot of fun to bring it out and to drive on a day like today and to just enjoy these flowing roads. Absolutely brilliant. And now, one topic to mention, there's a wedding going on just there. Try not to be too noisy going past, is that with BOTB, if you should happen to win a Lamborghini Huracan, they will help towards the insurance. That's part of it as well. More information can be found about that at the link down below, but certainly BOTB will not leave you completely hanging when it comes to these insurance policies, because it is something you need to be very aware of, especially for a young driver. And again, that's a very intriguing topic, because I was having a chat recently about insurance in other regions, and obviously I've insured my GT3 in Germany, which was much cheaper than it would have been for a GT3 in the UK. I've insured the Shelby GT500 in the US, again massively cheaper. About sports cars as a young driver, because here in the UK you can't really, even at 18, 19, perhaps even 20, insure a car like an M240i without spending fortunes, an Audi RS3, that kind of car. That will cost you a 5-figure sum a year. That will cost you over £10,000 a year to insure something like that. It's huge money. Whereas in the US market, a couple of thousand, $2,000, $3,000 a year, done. From the people I've been speaking to. Perhaps it's not the same in every case, and I'm sure it depends state to state, location to location. Manhattan is going to be a lot more than somewhere in the Midwest. It's a very different thing. But here in the UK, not happening. So it's why, I would always recommend for young drivers out there, if you're wondering about this topic, start in something cheap and cheerful. Save the money in your early years. Don't throw it away on insurance. Start with a 100 horsepower hatchback, upgrade it in time, do a few years with that, get your inexperienced years where stuff might go wrong out the way, and then down the line, upgrade it to something a little bit more fun. And don't overstretched, because to be overstretched, it just gets silly. You know, I've heard of people in young 20s spending £20,000 a year to insure an Urus, and it's just a huge amount of money. It doesn't, like, what's the point? You know, just massive cash. So I guess I should do a full deep dive into my insurance and costs and garage maintenance. If I can add all the numbers together and get you all of the data, I think I need to be correct with it all. But as you can probably imagine from the little overview that I've given today, it sums up to a big old amount of money. It is absolutely terrifying. It's a fairly nice car a year. To give a rough ballpark, not far off a DBS, not far off my DBS, which is really scary, but it's a requirement, both legally but also to be properly insured, to have the coverage in place. I've quite enjoyed this little drive so far. This car is just shy of 4,000 miles, as I said, and very much being enjoyed now that I've done a couple of things to it. The first is having a pillow. Having a pillow behind my back transforms the driving experience. Before I had popped that in, I just found it way too brutal and uncomfortable. With the pillow, it makes it very nice. But also secondly, that I've experimented with luggage and found that you can fit more behind the seats than I initially expected, which makes it much more usable. You can fit a soft bag or two back there if you want to go away somewhere for a day or two with it, because there's nothing up front. And to be honest, the only thing that stops me driving it more is that it's so in your face, there's no hiding. You need to be in the right mindset to drive this thing. You need to want to take it out at that particular time and embrace the chaos that it's going to bring everywhere you go, because if you don't want that, it's definitely the wrong car to be driving. And we're back, still actually a touch shy of 4,000 miles, but we'll call it 4,000 miles. 4,000 very fun miles driving the Lamborghini. I must admit, typically, as I've said before, I'm, let's say, a slightly more reserved person. A very bright pink and yellow Lamborghini is not the car that you would associate with me, but it's so fun to drive it on days like today. And to be honest, the number of thumbs ups and things today has been quite unusual, because often this attracts slightly less positive attention, shall we say. But today has been thumbs up from cyclists, it's been people waving me by, it's been, yeah, great fun, to be completely honest. And don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining per se. I feel very lucky to be in the position that I can run cars like these. It's amazing. It's a dream come true, to be totally honest about it. But it's just an interesting surprise tidbit about the ownership of cars like this, I guess, to be able to share with you things about them that you might not have considered. The first year insurance policy on the Huracan STO being much more than the SF90, which has 360 horsepower more and costs over £100,000 more. So a very different price point, a very different car, a very different category, really. SF90 up into more of the hypercar type level with the Senna and the Ford GT. STO, I would say, firmly in supercar category, but awesome nonetheless. A lot of fun, still very much enjoying it. 9 months on. I don't know what the future does entail. I don't know if I'll do the supercharger upgrade. I'm sure many of you will tell me to do it. I don't know if I'm going to own the car for many years, or if at some point it will depart. I haven't yet decided if it's in the permanent side of the garage with some of the others, like the 675 LT Spider and the Aston GT8, for example, over that way. It's something that we learn as time goes by. But don't forget, you could win a Lamborghini Huracan or a Lamborghini Urus or one of many other supercars with BOTB. All of the information is down below. Do go check it out. I've met plenty of the winners in the past. It's always amazing to see how dreams can become reality. Driving around in cars like this is certainly my dream. You don't know, it could be you next. Today though, yeah, bit of fun for an outing with the STO to share a bit more behind the scenes of the ownership of it. And there's plenty more of that kind of thing over on the Shmuseum channel as well, if you haven't checked it out already. That's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, I appreciate your support an awful lot. A huge thanks to BOTB. Check out the link, find out more. But that's it for now, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.